passionate leaders at the top, and it really frees us up to tell our story. And Director, one of the things you said today kind of got me going a little bit here, so everybody have to bear with me. This past Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend an event in Columbus, and as the director has said many times, he's out telling our story. Many of our leaders, some of you who are in the room, are out telling the story of the department and what we're doing and the changes we're making, the need for reform. And many of you in the audience are doing the same. But even if the leaders, the quote-unquote leaders, weren't here, the mission and the need is still the same. And it reminds me of a story I happened to read, and since we're in church, I'm going to tell a little church story. 1 Kings chapter 14, verse 20 ends sort of the chronicle of King Ben-Hadad, who was from Syria and had threatened the nation of Israel, King Ahab. And Ben-Hadad had this great army, and it was sort of bearing down on Israel. And the Israel king was very concerned because he didn't seem to have the resources. But a prophet came along and told Ben-Hadad that the victory is yours. Now, they hadn't engaged yet in battle, but he told him the victory is yours. And the king said, well, that's great, but who's going to lead the charge? And the prophet said, it's going to be you. And so the same thing applies to us, that whether or not there are various dignitaries or people of formal authority in the room, pastors or judges, it still falls on us to lead the charge. And that, to me, is the great thing about the local coalition effort in the state of Ohio, is that people recognize that victory rests with them engaging in the battle and you leading the charge. And so for the Reentry Coalition directors and other community leaders who are out there, we just want to encourage you to continue to lead the charge and to continue to share the story, our story, of making reform happen here in Ohio. So without further ado, we'll move on, and if there are any statutory member agencies here who would like to give a report, I will open up for that opportunity. Any thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Danny Higgins. I'm the Policy Administrator for the Ohio Department of Veterans Services, and greatly appreciate Director Warren and Mike for consistent invitations for us to participate in these coalitions. In particular, I'd like to thank Rehab and Corrections for their particular support for veterans who find themselves incarcerated in our justice system, and they engage frequently, in particular, with a group called the Vietnam Veterans of America, who, their name notwithstanding, actually provide support for veterans within the rehab correction system, and have actually posts inside the wall in, I think, at least 7 of our correctional institutions here. And in particular, I'd like to recognize Brian Byroth, who works tirelessly within Rehab and Corrections to help support veterans both within the system and also as they re-enter into and get restored to their life as citizens. I'd also like to point out, particularly for this community here, that our federal partners at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs are also engaged in veteran justice outreach and offender reentry. And so if you're not familiar with those resources, encourage you to engage with the, particularly the Stokes Clinic up here in the Cleveland area. A lot of those programs operate out of the major medical centers. There's 5 across the state of Ohio, and actually can help those veterans who are being restored get access to things like the pension services, disability compensation, medical care, and in some cases for those veterans who may have found themselves separated from service through a less than honorable discharge, can actually assist them with discharge upgrades. In particular, there's an emphasis now for Vietnam era veterans who may have been discharged, less than honorably discharged from the service due to certain behavioral health conditions, that they can have those discharges upgraded so that they can gain better access to VA services. Also, we are happy to announce that we've begun a collaboration with the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Ohio National Guard to try to enhance through community collaboratives the way our behavioral health system can assist our veterans and their family members in addressing issues related to behavioral health, in particular suicide prevention. Many of you have heard a lot of the reports related to